just common sense.
You sell products on Amazon for insane profits, but how do you find the right ones? If you want to learn how to find the best products to resell, listen to this 5-minute clip from an expert explaining exactly how he does it.
So how do you find these types of products that are well suited for arbitrage? On your Twitter account, you listed a couple different ones: reverse sourcing, manual sourcing. So maybe could you explain those two ways of finding these products that are well suited for arbitrage?
Sure. So the concept of reverse sourcing is the concept of if you find somebody's store and you know that they are an arbitrage seller, then it is probably likely that they also have products, or they have other products that they are selling profitably. And if we know that they're an arbitrage seller and they're selling these types of products, we could potentially see if we can find those same items at a profitable price. So basically, the way that it works is there's a very cheap software called SellerAmp. I believe the basic plan is like $20 a month. It is very cheap, but it is like one of the most important tools you can have. It has a function that allows you to very easily go through people's stores, and you can check each item. You can check the data for the item, what the price that it's historically been selling for, and they even have a button in the tool where it'll Google the name of the product for you, and then you can see what websites have it in stock. And then it's just that's really it. You look at the product. If it looks like a good product, you Google it, and then you try to find it on whatever website might be selling it. That's really all it is. It is a very repetitive process that really just requires you to spend lots of time just going through people's stores and trying to find products. It is very time consuming, but it is also one of the best ways to find products because you're basically piggybacking off of somebody else's efforts.
As in, someone has already looked at the trends, found the data, and figured out that this product is being sold cheaply somewhere else and being bought more expensively at another place. And so they did all the data for you. And so now you can just take that product and do exactly what they've done. So they did all the research for you, essentially.
Yeah, that's more or less how it works. You're just actually, I think you described it pretty well. You're basically just taking other people's items and trying to find them. And if you can find them at a profitable price, then, that's it. It's pretty straightforward. It can require a lot of grinding just because there's a lot of things that you'll have to look out for. But it is one of the more efficient methods if you're willing to put the time in, because there's much less likely that the items that you find are going to get saturated because of that, because you're not looking in places where lots of other people are looking.
And do you have a few go-to Amazon arbitrage sellers that sell the right products and you kind of just keep going back to them to find new ones?
So that is something that I do, but it is not something I do enough of. Typically, if I find more than 2 or 3 good items from a single store, I will save that person's store on a spreadsheet, and I'll typically check it every couple weeks to see if they've added anything new. That list is not as big as it should be. I haven't done a good enough job of managing that. But that is definitely the way to go about it, is once you build up a big catalog of other sellers who are doing the same thing as you, then you can just keep checking them, every couple of weeks, and they're definitely going to have new products on there that you can steal.
And do you stay away from any products, or do you prefer to stay in certain categories, like you said, vitamins, and textbooks, for instance? Or if you have a seller that you trust and they're doing the right things, but they're selling something you don't normally sell, will you take their word for it, essentially, and go source that product?
The context is very important. I typically am okay with selling any category as long as it makes sense. So one thing I've started to do is I've started to shy away from stuff like shoes and clothing. There are a lot of big sellers that crush it with shoes and clothing, and if you know what you're doing, you can make a lot of money. I personally don't like it because I don't like spending $100 on a pair of shoes and then they just get returned, but the person wore them for 2 weeks and I can't resell them. For that reason, I just don't like shoes and clothing or anything else, anything like that, where the return process is very easy. I assume it's the same thing with stuff like electronics, which I really don't do that much of in the first place. So those are the types of products that I've started to shy away from just because I don't like having to deal with returns. It's pretty annoying and it also just takes up a lot of time. My preferred categories are stuff like vitamins and beauty products, things like makeup, skincare. The reason I like these products are for a couple of reasons. The first reason is typically these items are much smaller. So that means that the fees are going to be much lower. You can fit 50 units in a box, and that's going to save you a lot of money on shipping. Also, another reason these types of items are good is they're what's known as replenishable items. They're going to be things that people will use up and run out of, and then they'll have to go buy more. So you think about like a sleep supplement, like magnesium or something. Eventually, you're going to run out of that magnesium, and you're going to have to go buy more. So basically, these are the types of items where they're small, so there's not a lot of fees. It's something that people have to buy over and over again. And in most cases, they can't be returned. Like you can't return supplements to my knowledge, or at least most supplements. That's another reason why I say grocery is a great category for beginners. Customers are not allowed to return the 2-pack of soup cans that they bought from you. So you don't have, that was something that was very helpful for me when I transitioned out of textbooks into traditional arbitrage. Was I did a lot of high volume, low cost grocery items, and I never had a single item returned to me. So even though the profit margins weren't that high, I was consistently making money in the beginning over time because I didn't have to worry about returns.